What's up, everybody? This is Vekktone. How are you guys doing today? I'm bringing you guys another FL Studio 12 tutorial. And I say FL Studio 12, but the tutorials apply for pretty much whatever FL Studio version you are using. They're all very similar. I know I haven't gotten into tutorials lately, haven't posted much except for on the podcast if you've been keeping update with that, but I've been getting a lot of comments of people telling me that I should really start uploading more tutorials because I seem to be not too bad at it. So I'm just going to get started, and we're going to jump right into some basic FL Studio controls, and I'm going to talk to y'all about Massive today, and we're also going to get into just how to make any sort of sound from scratch using a plugin that has oscillators. So Massive is what we'll be working with, but this can also apply to lots of different things. Like you could even use the 3X OSC, the built-in stock FL Studio plugin for this. There's 3 oscillators just like in Massive. So if you've watched my other Massive tutorial, you actually know that some of the things I've talked about them in my last tutorial. But today, I'm just going to be covering what to do if you just want to start making some random sounds. I'm just going to show you guys how to make a few cool different little tricks, a few effects, how to quickly make something sound beautiful, stuff like that. So as you can see, we're in Massive, and I have a brand new Untitled sound. When you pull it up, make sure you press New Sound just to get a blank Massive from scratch. So yeah, we'll be working right here, and let's just play our sound. I've got my MIDI keyboard set up, so we'll hear how it sounds. So it sounds kind of loud and kind of hurts your ears at first, but actually, we can change that very easily. The first thing we want to focus on is our 4th envelope. This controls the main sound of the plugin. So like I explained in my last tutorial, you can imagine this little line as the volume of the sound. So it's going to jump up here, and time is down here on the x-axis if this were a graph. So it'd be time versus volume. The volume jumps up when you press the key, and it's going to sustain itself. We can change that by simply dragging our level down, and we do that just like this, and now we've got a little mountain shape. So the sound's going to jump up and then duck down. Let's hear what that sounds like. And that's a very simple. Now we've just changed it into from an annoying, harsh, loud, sustained sound to a quick little pluck. And if you actually hold your key, it's gonna keep that note. But if I actually stop holding it before the note finishes ringing, it's just gonna cut it off. If you can hear that. So yeah, that's the first thing we want to do. So let's just work with this and go make some cool little pluck noise. So the next thing typically I like to do is start adding some reverb on it or something, just to get something that sounds decent to your ears when you're trying to write music. Because I don't want to be writing my chord progression with this annoying loud thing. I just want to, I don't want to have this long note play in my ears the entire time when I'm trying to figure out how I want my song to sound. I really just want some quick little pluck or something that has a nice reverb, not too harsh on the ears. It's going to allow the chords to come out more and essentially make themselves stand out more and sound better in general. So I'm just going to go up to my FX1 and add some reverb to it. And now we can hear. What I'm going to do is increase the size of that a little bit and just make it more on the dry side. This is going to give it a couple of, it's just going to make it more easier and less reverbed, I guess, but it's also going to give it a bigger sound in general. So let's hear it. Another thing you can do is if you don't like how the reverb built in with Massive sounds, you can actually assign your Massive to its own free mixer track. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Simply click this arrow up here, and let's see. Sorry, assign free mixer track. Didn't see it there for a sec. So now we've got our Massive linked to channel 5, and if you don't like the reverb in Massive, like I said, you can go ahead and just add your own fruity reverb. Of course, it's not as loud, but if I change it to like the Cathedral preset, it's going to be way more reverbed. So the difference between this reverb and the built-in reverb is that it's not as I guess echoey. It really sounds like way more intense in the FX tab of Massive than it does in this. But of course, you can change that by just making it more wet or more dry, and also increasing the amount of reverb. So yeah, that's like some pretty intense reverb we've got going there. But let's take that off and just work in massive alone. But of course, 3x oscillator, if you're using that, it doesn't actually have its own FX, so you would have to assign it to its own mixer track. So that's how you add effects, like with 3x oscillator. But for massive, of course, it's a more high-end plugin and has its own effects. So let's turn on some reverb like we had. And that sounds pretty cool. And let's just add another effect. Like, who knows? Like just something cool to test it out. Like I don't know, flanger. Let's see how that sounds. And that's cool right there. We can even increase the depth and make that. And now once you have like a general okay sound that, it doesn't even have to be refined. It can be just a simple, reverbed chord, something that you can make all your chords with. That's how I usually start my song. So, to play a simple chord progression, we would just start playing. And there you go, and if I were actually recording that, I could have put that into my FL Studio piano roll via recording, and then, it would have been, exactly synced with when I had pressed it. But using the quantize function in the piano roll, you can actually set those notes that you played to come in perfectly on time. Thanks to technology, we can do that, which is really awesome. And I don't even know how to use quantize completely, but I'm really starting to get to learn to use that. We can go into that in another video, but let's just keep working with sound. Let's say we want to play not a pluck. Let's say we want to do a chord again. So usually you can bring your level all the way back up, but the thing is that the sound is going to be really loud. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that down so we can hear it. So now if we were to make like a synth or something that you would put in a drop of like an EDM track or something, this would be a long sustained chord note that you would then overlay with bass, some mid stuff, anything like a lead or something really high pitch or something that you wanted to make your song progress. These would be the kind of sounds you would want to make: long, drawn out, reverbed, and eventually side chained sounds once you add in your percussion and stuff. Another thing you can do is increase the attack, and by doing that you actually make the sound increase in the amount of like the time it takes for it to reach full volume. So let's listen. So to me that sounds more like I don't know, like a bow, like something playing from a violin or any orchestral instrument. You can actually increase this time drastically. And that could be something you could do at a very, very beginning of your song, and you could automate this and actually change that. And in case you guys didn't know how to automate stuff that's not within FL Studio, because normally, like built-in FL Studio parameters, I can just right-click and create automation clip. However, in third-party plugins, you must actually tweak the parameter you want. Let's say I'm doing Oscillator 2 amp. Okay, tweak that parameter, go to Tools, Last Tweaked, and your parameter should be displayed here, Oscillator 2 amp, and that's what I did. Then you press Create Automation Clip or Link to Controller or whatever you're going to be doing. That's how you would do it with any third-party plugin. If you guys have problems with that, please message me, because sometimes it doesn't work and it took me a while to fix it. And I can help you guys with that if that is your problem. But back to the sound. Let's go ahead and take the attack off. And another thing I wanted to show you guys is how to play with your other envelopes a little bit. So this is how, I don't know if you guys have heard Destroy Them with Lasers by Knife Party, but they use a lot of awesome laser-like sounds. And if you want to make something like that, you're going to need to use envelopes. Your other ones, of course, because 4 controls your main sound, but 1, 2, and 3 are left open. So what you can do is actually click these little plus buttons and drag them to any little empty box you can drag them to, and automate that function that the box has with your envelope. So I'm going to do that to pitch. Just going to put it on my pitch, and I'm going to drag this number up to, I'll drag it down and see how it sounds. So now the actual pitch of your note is going to be automated due to the envelope. Let's hear. Okay, so it sounds pretty crazy. I'm gonna I'm gonna bring the level down. And then now you can hear how it takes a while to get to that note. I can actually change that time as well. And then if you actually bring your note up to like positive, the positive value. Okay, I'm changing it from 11 to 12. Let's just bring that up. It's a little hard to do with my mouse in the way I'm positioned. 11's fine. Okay, now the other thing we need to do is bring our decay down. That'll affect the time as well. Now you see that it actually slid very quickly. So that's how, you know, that even kind of sounds like a horn or something being blown, or like an air horn or something. So yeah, you can just, honestly, you can tweak so many different things in Massive, and it's amazing, and it requires endless time, something that nobody has. And I honestly envy the people who created this software and will hopefully someday be able to write something like this on my own, because this is just amazing. But back to our sound. And another thing you guys might want to know, a very useful tip, is if you go to your voicing tab, you can actually change the amount of voices by unisono. Turn that up to like 2. I like to do it up to 2. To make your sound really nice and wide, you can turn your pan position on and bring this little fader all the way to the right. Now let's listen. And there you go. Now you see that it actually has made it kind of like a stereo sound, more spread out across your actual headphones. You don't have to do that, and typically I don't like to do that with the bass, but I do like to do it with my higher chords. Also, if you want to bring up in any sort of filters, you can do that and, you know, fade your sound in and out. And there it goes. So yeah, there's just all kinds of different tweaks, but this is just how to get a basic grip on Massive and just get straight into making something really nice. Or if you're just trying to make a cool little intro sound that you know, like sometimes I like to load up, you know, a certain sound whenever I'm creating a new song, just to get my, you know, ears adjusted and listen to it in my favorite synth that I made my own. And then I can just listen to like new patterns and just play random things on my favorite synth. And then eventually I'm like, oh, hey, that sounded really cool. Now I'm going to make a new synth with this pattern I just created from my old synth and make the sound different, you know? So just familiarizing yourself with FL Studio and Massive especially, and how to make these sounds really helps you in the future. Another thing I can recommend to you guys to understand Massive a little bit more is to go into your browser. If you guys have any pre-installed settings, you can load those actually. And now we can go back into our synth and see this is what someone else made. Pretty bizarre, and honestly, I don't know how to make something like that because I'm not that good with Massive. And so what you can do to learn how to do that is reverse engineer the song. You can see here I can just start turning off things or taking away knobs and muting things and understanding what the sound is as I take certain things away, certain aspects of the adjustments. And then I can see like, okay, so this makes it sound like this, and this gives it the distinct bell sound, and you know, it just goes on and on until you have the very, very raw sound. So it's not a matter of being smart enough to do it. It's just understanding what the people did to make it. You know, you just keep practicing with Massive, and you'll just keep getting better. And honestly, if you have like a really advanced plugin like Massive, I would suggest using that over all your other plugins and understanding that as well as you can, because it will apply to the more simpler plugins like 3x Oscillator. And in case y'all haven't seen 3x Oscillator, I'll just pull it up for you really quick. And it's in additive, subtractive, sorry. So you know, it's basically 3 oscillators, 1, 2, 3, just like in Massive. We've got 1, 2, and 3. And you know, the effects apply. You just gotta familiarize yourself with that, and you will understand it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you all enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it helped out a little bit. Leave in the comments what else you guys want me to do tutorials on. I will be happy to do whatever you guys want. and I'll do it to the best of my ability, and I'll help y'all in the comments. Please like and subscribe. I'm really happy with how my channel's turning out so far, and I hope to see y'all in the future. Thank you very much, and have a great day.